Welcome back to Retire ATL, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. If you hear anything on this weekend show you need some clarity on, 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120. Always available at retireatlradio.com. This weekend, the team at Vincent Financial want to offer you that retirement roadmap. Sit down with you, customized plan. Maybe you just want to know, where am I? Matt, you've said before that some people will sit down for the first time and just say, how am I doing? And the response sometimes is pretty good.
I think most people are pleasantly surprised with how they're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they've been diligent about their saving, and if that's you owe it to yourself to sit down and find out. You might be closer than you think. In fact, just this last week, I had to convince somebody, hey, it's time to retire.
No.
You're there.
I'm not ready.
Well, I wasn't talking about you.
No. No, me and you will not be having that discussion for another couple of minutes. So we've got time to build our relationship a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that, though, that how many people come in and say, where am I? And you go, you're doing okay. You might be able to retire. You don't know unless you ask the questions. First thing you have to do is make the phone call. 770-741-0120, retireatlradio.com. When we get back to this conversation we were having about the CEO of Bridgewater talking about picking investments, said they have 400 people working day and night. They still get it wrong 40% of the time. But if I could be devil's advocate here, that means they're getting it right 60% of the time.
It's true. But here's the thing. They are employing dozens of people full time with all the best, degrees and diplomas from the best schools. And even at that rate, even with that kind of expertise, experience, whatever you want to call it, they're still getting it wrong 40% of the time. So if you're okay with that, 60% rate of getting it correct, you've got to be able to spend all of your time, all of your resources. You can never rest. They're around the clock working just to get it right just over half the time, and you better be able to do the same thing. And I think that's what Matt said a minute ago that I think was critically important. And I want to make sure we hit this home, because he gave the example of $100,000, lose 10%, gain 10%, lose 10%, gain 10%. Most folks out there are going to say, oh, if you lose 10, gain 10, lose 10, gain 10, you were flat for the year. You got a 0% return. That's what maybe your financial advisor might tell you. Hey, the first quarter we were up 10, second quarter we were down 10, so on and so forth. They would say that you're flat. But when you attach a dollar sign to it, when you make it money, not just some arbitrary index account value, but now you put a dollar sign in front of it, now you're talking about a negative return. You lost money. And I think I want to make sure, because we hit this home hard with our clients, because most of the information, the education, a lot of the stuff you'll read out there is so it's just not robust enough. It doesn't take the point to the full extent of how it's going to affect you and your retirement. And so, understanding that when you put a dollar sign in front of these numbers, it is a different equation. It does not react the same way. And so, Matt, you said all that very well. I just want to make sure that was crystal clear. I don't know if you had anything more to add to that or not. But.
Well, I'd also just say back to Bridgewater, and I think they employ like 400 people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 400 people making basically their life's work.
Day and night.
Right. PhDs and all the rest.
Choosing investments, and they're right 60% of the time, and that's great. And I guess I would just say, if that's you, if you're prepared to spend day and night analyzing and poring over all the possible investments that are out there, and if you're certain that you can be right 60% of the time, and you're also confident that your wins can outweigh your losses, because that's something that he's not talking about here. Mm-hmm. Just because, look, this is not a one-to-one type deal, right? You might have an investment that you make 10% on, and that counts as a win. And you might have an investment that you lose 40% on. That's a loss. Well, I need a lot more wins to outweigh my one big loss. And so this isn't even the full story, right? The real question is, can you win enough to outpace the times that you lose? Because most people, when they lose bigger than when they win. Right. And that comes out in the Dalbar study pretty much every year. Dalbar study is just kind of an independent research study where they're cataloging and tracking the average performance of your retail investor, and then they compare that to the guys like Bridgewater and Vanguard and all the and BlackRock. And the idea is most people, the retail investor, the person who's trying to just digest all the information and come up with a stock pick, their losses outweigh their wins. So just because it's a 60% correct guess still doesn't mean that you're going to actually make it out ahead.
And that's the biggest point. I think this is what we're trying to get to is, can you answer this question? Does the 40% accuracy rate get you where you want to be in retirement? You can actually measure that. So that's the biggest point, is if you've got a plan and a way to stress test your portfolio and a way to look at the cause effect of these phenomenons that happen, then you can know, hey, if I'm going to make this bet or this investment, this better be the return or the result. And if it is, I'm fine. And you can actually measure that decision. But what we find is that most people don't have that level of knowledge or understanding or involvement in their portfolio to know, hey, what's the actual cause and effect? It might be that with some investments like this, a 40% accuracy rate is good enough for you. But if you can't answer the question, hey, what number do I need? Then making, this was the point of my comment of, Mark, if you came to me with this idea, saying you could get it right four times out of 10, I'd say no, because if I don't know what I need, if I don't know what my result needs to be, how can I make that decision? And that's the biggest point.
So that's what it's perspective. Because when I read an article like that and they say they get it wrong 40% of the time, I hear they get it right 60% of the time, but my mind is a baseball mind. So I hear I get 6 hits out of 10.
Right.
That's an all-star. That's a Hall of Fame.
You're batting 600? Yeah,
that's
pretty darn good.
But it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120 to reach out to the team at the Vincent Financial Group. Take advantage of that retirement roadmap. They want to build you that GPS to get you to and through retirement. And if you've done a good job, you have a 401k you're proud of, a savings plan, maybe a pension, well, let's sit down with the team, because then that consultation, sorry, Brandon, that consultation, it's no cost, it's no obligation. Again, that number, 770-741-0120. You mentioned stress test a plan a couple seconds ago. Define that for me, because we hear that a lot when putting plans together. What exactly does that mean? Yeah,
there are lots of threats to your portfolio. That might be, we're talking about volatility. It could be volatility. It could be taxes. It could be inflation. It could be healthcare. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of different threats or things to be aware of. And so what I want to make sure people understand is there is actually a way to see what an elevated inflation rate for the next 10 years, how that's actually to the financial dollar amounts, how that's going to affect your portfolio, or what's your income actually going to be if tax rates increase from where they are now to some new level. You can see the before and after. You can sort of see around the turn, if you will. You can see the cause and effect of these different threats on your portfolio. And most people that we talk to, when they first enter our office, they arrive with this feeling, and this is very common, of I've been working, I've been saving, it's been getting a return, it's been growing over the past 20 or 30 years. But beyond those pieces of information, it's kind of like ostrich, head in the sand, pray it all works out. Mm-hmm. But what I want everyone to know is that you actually can see, you can stress test, you can apply these risks, if you will, to your portfolio and see how they come out on the other end, and you can know the answer. And that's a powerful tool when you're making decisions. We ultimately, what do? Very simply, we help people make better decisions. Can I retire? What does that look like? Or, if I want to retire in 5 years, what must I do for the next 5 years? It's all just a decision-making process, and making educated, informed decisions with the most information possible, not just praying that it all works out in the end, I think is what we do.
Yeah. I think for most people, well, I won't say most people, but what I hear from my dad, actually, every time I talk to my dad, he's one of our clients, and he jokingly will say, "Are you calling me to tell me I need to go back to work?" That's how he answers the phone with me now, which is just great. Thanks, Dad. But I also think,
Dad, you missed my birthday, but do I have to go back to work?
But I actually think he's on to something there. When I talk to people that have not retired yet, pre-retiree, but hoping to do it soon, in a lot of cases, what's going on in their mind is, well, the reason I'm not retired yet, I think I might be able to retire. but I'm not going to because I don't want to ever have to go back to work. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I pull the ripcord, I say, peace, I'm out, and then 10 years later, I'm back and I'm working again. And I don't want to get used to retired life and then have to get back into the workforce.
What's the job market for a 70-year-old? I don't want to find out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
And so that's what the stress tests will do, because they'll show you, well, here is the likelihood, or maybe a better way to say it would be, or here's what your retirement lifestyle would look like if things didn't go well. And then you get to actually decide for yourself, okay, I can actually see what the risks are. And I know that if inflation is 8% for the next 10 years, I'm going to have to cut back on my spending. And I'm going to have to spend, I don't know, $15,000 a year less. Mm-hmm. But once you know that, that gives you all the power in the world, because now you can actually make an educated decision. Because the flip side to that is, okay, well, how much longer would I have to work in order to completely eliminate the risk of inflation at 8% for 10 years? And for most people, when they figure out, actually, I'd have to work like 6 more years, I'd rather just spend $15,000 a year less if this happens and retire now.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion most people come to. But if you don't actually do the stress testing, how can you ever even make that decision with confidence? My opinion is you can't.
It's just this big, daunting, unknown, immeasurable risk that you just sort of put your hands in the air and say, I hope it works out.
Yeah. It's like you said, like an ostrich, just put your head in the sand and pray it all works out.
Yep.
It's kind of feel about this election at this point. Just pray it all works out for the best. Come on. So when you're talking about stress testing a plan, I mean, is that something that you can put on a piece of paper and we can walk away with? Or is that more of like it's more of, an algorithm that we're going to do some programs on? Physically, how can I see what my plan looks like with the stress test?
We can put it on paper, but more likely...
There's just some people just, I need to physically see it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. More likely, we're going to put it in a digital format.
Yeah.
And then rerun the stress test every time we get together. So it's not like a one time you get to see it, make a decision, and move on. No, actually, every time we get together, we can rerun the stress test and make sure that we're on track. And if we're off track, we can make adjustments so that you don't have to be that person who's going back into the workforce when you're 75 and figuring out what that job market's like.
Mark, it takes some effort. It takes some time. We got to take inventory. We got to take a full picture of where you're at today. If it's a roadmap, someone mentioned GPS. I got to know where I'm at, and I got to know where I want to go. And if you can give us the information that answers those two questions, we can absolutely put this in a readable, tangible format that you can actually see cause effect. And I think that gives a lot of peace of mind. We call it the sleep at night factor. A lot of our clients that come to us are clients that came from a different financial advisor. Not speaking ill of anyone, but most of our clients aren't first-time investors. And so what happens is they come in and they've got a lot of questions that aren't answered. They've been investing, they've been saving for a long time, but some of these entry level, like really important questions aren't answered. And so to your point a minute ago about helping someone, like convincing them you actually can retire, they've got the heavy lifting done. The work's been done, the saving, the investing, et cetera, but they can't answer some of those sleep at night factor questions of what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? Elections and market volatilities and inflation and all the stuff that comes with it. You can actually know the answer to those questions, and it's tangible, and it's right there.
Whenever we travel, I've got 3 young kids. My kids are a little bit younger than Aaron's kids. So yours are 16, 13 and 11. Mine are 11, 9, and 8. And so whenever we travel, we're talking about GPS and roadmap, we get the address, put it in the GPS. But I know in my heart of hearts, I'm probably going to make a detour at some point, because life happens.
Yeah.
Someone's got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Now, my gut instinct is here's a bottle. Go for it. They're all boys. But
It's
my
usually
wife,
me. I got to go, and I blame somebody else.
Yeah.
You got to go again? I guess we'll stop.
My wife will not let that fly, though. When I grew up, it was a different time. And
Sure.
if you had to go to the bathroom and you were kind of the young kid in the car, you just
Either held it or you held it.
You just had to deal with life.
Grab another pair of shorts.
Well, we make detours all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared for that. And I know how my GPS uses the detour function. Okay,
Recalculating.
Exactly. The retirement stress tests, that's your detour.
Yeah.
That's your, hey, life just happened. And the stuff we talked about 4 years ago when we started this trip, we thought we had one destination in mind, but actually we have another destination in mind now because some stuff went down, right?
Yeah.
And the stress test is going to tell you the route to take for that detour. And it's going to show you, well, okay, then maybe you need to shift some money over here, or maybe you need to spend, a little bit less in order to accommodate this detour. Or maybe you can spend a little bit more. It depends on what the detour is. But the stress test is a way to make the plan a living, breathing document that can change when the circumstances of life change. And it can give you peace of mind knowing, hey, I've accounted for some pretty ugly scenarios in here, and I'm comfortable with all of them. So I'm good to go.
I love that you did say, and I'm going to contradict myself, that, hey, is it going to be on one page? Can I take it with me? I love that you said, no, it's a digital form, that we consistently evolve, and it evolves with you. Because I'll be honest, I'll lose that one page real fast. So the fact that you have that program available, the team at the Vincent Financial Group, they want to give you the opportunity to sleep at night knowing you have a plan that fits your needs. Take advantage of the retirement roadmap, that GPS, if you will. So if you do need to veer off and take a look at the world's biggest ball of yarn, you can do that and still get back on track with the help of Aaron, Matt, and the team at the Vincent Financial Group. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120. Take advantage of the no-cost, no-obligation consultation, which includes a stress test of your retirement plan. You can always meet the team when you visit retireatlradio.com. Let's talk more about income. How do we build that income? How can we get that guaranteed income in retirement so that, Aaron, I don't have to go back to work? You mentioned, what is the job market like for 70-year-olds? So that I can do that because I want to, not because I have to. Talk to me about some guaranteed income.
Absolutely. Well, to get to that topic, we've got to also, we just talked about having a plan, right? And detours happen. Well, that provides our clients with a lot of peace of mind. That's great. What it also does is it allows us to know how to do our jobs well. I don't know how any money manager, investment manager manages a portfolio without knowing that detours might happen, without knowing how the stress tests happen. What should we be invested in? How much risk to take? How much, to your question, Mark, guaranteed income do I actually need, et cetera? You can't do that well as an investment manager or financial advisor without knowing all that we just talked about. So it's critical for our clients to get peace of mind. It's critical for us to do our jobs well. And so one of those questions that comes up is, okay, I need, as a client, to guarantee a certain amount of my income, because what you don't want to do is get to a certain point years into your retirement and realize that, oh, things went south. They didn't go like I thought they were going to go. Now what do I have to do? Go back to work? I hope not. Well, there are ways to prevent that, and you can even guarantee it, to your point. And so our first task at hand with that is, how much do you want to guarantee? And I'll use a round number example. If you need $100,000 per year in retirement income just to live the lifestyle that you want, let's first talk about how much of that do you want to guarantee? Meaning, we talk about things like, what are the essentials? So, if you have a mortgage, then a mortgage payment, your utilities, your groceries, your gas bill for your car. Those are the things that you can't do without. And then there are other expenses that, how much is your vacation going to cost this year? How many Braves games are you going to go to, et cetera, et cetera. Those are optional, you could say. And so we have a conversation first about how much should we guarantee? And then, backing into, there are lots of different ways to guarantee income, or at least more than one. My parents recently called me because they keep getting these pieces of mail that are invitations to these dinner workshops or these seminars. And what they find in these things is that most of them are trying to do one thing. It's selling them an annuity of some kind. And they talk about guaranteed income. And look, I'll tell you right now, sometimes we do use annuities to help our clients get guaranteed income. I mean, I'm not going to shy away from that. I love them. But what we also find is that, a lot of these folks that call themselves financial advisors are really just salespeople. They've got an insurance license that allows them to sell certain insurance products. And when you're a hammer, everything you see is a nail. Mm-hmm. And so we also find that sometimes this topic is just so saturated with incomplete or not full information in making decisions. So It's a tricky one.
Yeah. Build that guaranteed income in retirement. We've talked a little bit about that before, Matt, about an annuity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people love them. Some people don't like them at all, but they are. And, you know, we got a couple of minutes left here, but kind of give me the 10,000-foot view. I know there's a lot of layers to annuities, but there are some opportunities for that guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah, I think if you are someone who's only got Social Security as the only source of your guaranteed income in retirement, with Social Security set to run out of its trust fund reserves in the 2030s, depending on who you talk to, that's a 25% cut in your Social Security paycheck. And if we talked about stress testing as well, if any of the stress tests happen, the last thing you want is to run out of investable dollars and have no guaranteed money other than Social Security that's set to be cut by around 25% in 2033 to 2035.
Yeah.
That's not the position that you want to be in. But let me paint a different picture. Let me paint a picture of the situation that you might really enjoy. So Home Run Derby was a while back there, and I don't know if you're a fan of the Home Run Derby.
I am.
I love the Home Run Derby because these are the best hitters in the world, and they get to go up there and swing for the fences like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
So let me paint a picture for you. You're close to retirement, or maybe you're in retirement. You got a couple $1 million, and you do the hard work of putting a plan in place, and you understand the importance of having some principally protected money, which means it only goes in one direction, and that's up. It doesn't go backwards when the market's down. And you understand the importance of having guaranteed income over and above Social Security. Guess what you've just done? You've just put yourself as a contestant in the Home Run Derby, and you can swing for the fences. So if you want to take obscene amounts of risk and be that person who dies with $100 million because they bought Ford stock in the 19 whatevers and they never sold a penny of it, you can be that person. You can take home run swings if you have guaranteed money and if you have principally protected dollars. If you have no guaranteed money and if you have no principally protected dollars, you're going up there and you're bunting.
No, I'm not getting off the bench.
Exactly.
I know my limitations.
But let me just say it again. Let's paint the picture. If you don't have principally protected money, and if you don't have guaranteed income other than Social Security, how can you feel secure in taking any risk, knowing what's happening this year politically, knowing how much debt we've accumulated as a country? I don't know how you can feel comfortable taking the risk. And I think that's why so many people are frozen and have a hard time making a decision about when and how to retire.
Great conversations about the opportunities for guaranteed income in retirement. These are the questions that you can ask when you will personally sit down with Aaron Vincent, Matthew Decker, and the team at the Vincent Financial Group. By the way, this show serves Metro Atlanta, serves the state of Georgia. This isn't a nationally syndicated radio show up and down the East Coast. Now, granted, the team at Vincent Financial, they help people all over the country. But this morning, we're talking to you, Metro Atlanta. So if you have questions, if you have concerns about your retirement plan, 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120. Aaron Vincent, Matthew Decker, thank you. Thank you for the information and the education this weekend. We've had a lot of great conversations in the past about Social Security, about annuities, about that guaranteed income. So we invite you to like, subscribe, share the Retire ATL podcast. You can find it across all podcast platforms and, of course, at retireatlradio.com. We will be back next weekend, but for Aaron Vincent and Matthew Decker, this has been Retire ATL right here on WSB.